Hi and welcome to this video, my top 10 most likely unseen issues in the YJ oil and gas case study for the SEMA, top SEMA exam. This is the final video 9 in my series analysing the Preseen, giving you my views on the Preseen and what's going to come up in the exam, key strategic issues and so on. So let's get on with this one then. What we're going to do in this particular video is work through my top 10 most likely unseen issues. I'm going to bring together all my knowledge and experience of many exams now to think, okay, well, what do I think is most likely to come up? I kind of have to do this when we are preparing our mock exams. We prepare 7 different mock exams based on each of the pre-scenes, and this one included. And so I have to go through this process mostly for our internal workings of, what do we think are the most likely things that are going to come up in the exam, so that our mock exams are based on the most likely issues. And of course what I then do is give those out to our mock writers and use them myself on the ones that I write to produce the issues that we think are most likely to come up, so that our mock exams link mostly through to what we think is going to come up. And we do have some good success with this. In the last exam, of the top 5 issues we have, in the first exam, 4 of them actually came up. So, and the examiner's top issue in the next exam was one of our big issues as well. So, that's not necessarily that I'm absolutely brilliant at predicting what comes up, although I have got a lot of experience at it. It's just simply that in the pre-scene there are lots and lots of hints and tips of things that, well, not tips, but hints that the examiner is giving you to suggest what they think is likely to come up on the day of the exam. And I've just picked up on those to go through my top 10. So, firstly then, it's worth considering, what is the basis of my choice? Basically, the way I decide on these top issues is, what is their focus in the pre-scene? There are some issues which I've got big sections on them. Farming in and farming out, it's got a section all of its own, so that's likely to come up somewhere. And the degree of importance attached to it, sometimes the examiner mentions the same thing 2 or 3 times. So for instance, the possibility of a new oil field not actually discovering oil there and having to write off, that's mentioned 2 or 3 times. And so, okay, well, why are they mentioning that over and over again? Very often the issue is that's then going to come up in an unseen. That's what we've seen in past exams. My next reason is the importance to the SWOT analysis. Simply, there are some elements, for instance, that are key weaknesses. We haven't got a huge number of weaknesses in this particular case, actually, but where they are, well, the likelihood is that surely those are there so that we comment on them and resolve them. Surely one of the 2 exams is going to have an issue on, probably. Or unless there's some key opportunities in there as well. So, yeah, the key ones out of the SWOT, those are most likely to be in there. And also, what's the likely importance attached by the new CEO? We know the new CEO has particularly mentioned about funding, so therefore that comes into it somewhere. I've had that one as one of my top 10. I've just used also my experience of past exams. Issues that typically come up, we do see lots of issues repeat themselves over the years, models that repeat themselves. The other thing I try and bear in mind is how easy is it to write issues on that subject. There's some issues that you wouldn't think would come up, but they do tend to come up a lot. And I think that I know from writing issues myself, literally hundreds, I suppose, going forward over the last sort of 7 or 8 years that I've written on all the different mock exams. There's some issues that are just dead easy to write issues on, and if they're easy for me to write an issue on, they're going to be easy for the examiners to write issues on as well. Other things is where is it easy to set calculations. So basically I bring all these things together to try and come up with my top 10. What do you do with those top 10 then? How do you prepare for these? Okay, the first thing, you need to practice mock exams that cover the key issues. Obviously either you can buy our mock exams or get mock exams from other providers, which often, I do see most of those other mock exams, and they often do tend to cover these similar key issues. So just get yourself a good set of mock exams so you've practiced what might come up, in those issues. So that's really key for your preparation going forward. Now, this one is absolutely key here. So much so I'm going to underline it for you, is that what I tend to do with my students is I force them to produce industry examples based around these top issues. So that, given that these are my top 10 issues, they're the ones most likely to come up, they're the ones you most need industry examples on. And what I do is I get them to prepare a set, people who are on our course, I get them to prepare a set of industry examples based on those issues. And actually on our masterclasses, we talk about those industry examples that people have got, and we share them around. So what we do is we've got everyone sharing industry examples based on what are the most likely issues in the exam. So we've got lots of them, lots of great examples. Of course, we relate our industry pack to these examples as well. Some of the issues, not all of them, if it's a kind of standard issue, you might be able to list like kind of advantages and disadvantages, something like outsourcing, for instance. We know we've got outsourcers that are important. So advantage and disadvantage of outsourcers, then, okay, well, that will be a list worth reviewing. Or it might be that there's a key model. So, for instance, it may well be that motivation is an issue which comes up, and that's one I'm going to mention as well. So maybe the motivation models you might want to sort of swat up on that you wouldn't otherwise be thinking of would be important for this exam. Okay, and also key calculations that are most likely to come up. To be honest with you, there's not too much set up for this. In previous pre-scenes, we've been given some financial information which you might want to go away and work on. There's not too much in this particular case. Okay, so let's go on then and have a look at my top 10. This is my number 10 issue. I'm going to do a countdown in the tradition of the kind of chart type countdown, starting at my number 10. Okay, so my number 10 is we get some either good or bad information on oil or gas reserves. Perhaps that's a new find of oil on one of the sites that we are investigating. Remember, we are looking into 12 different possible sites, and we've put licenses in on 4 of them. Maybe one of those, the kind of 5 to 12, as it were, we suddenly find is a fantastic new field, or we suspect there's a new field, and we need to do drilling on it, or something along those lines. Or perhaps there's a change in the estimates in an old field. Now, the pre-scene does give us estimates of how much volume that they've got. It's kind of roughly 7 years worth of existing resources. Now, that is key to the value of the company. Coming down here, reserves are key for the business valuation. Basically, the value of the company is primarily based on the oil reserves that it's going to pump out and be able to sell. That's a key element in a business like this. Okay, yes, there may be value in future in future development and so on, but that's absolutely critical. Finding new oil, changes in estimates of old field. Perhaps another one was, and this was specifically mentioned in the case, a drilling license that can't be taken into production for some reason. But basically, our geological surveys are find more or less oil, and we have to deal with that. A key issue for you, why I do this, by the way, it's just mentioned in the case, a number of cases, I think, is this particular one. This is why I've got this in there. One key thing for you to watch on this particular one is that the pre-scene talks about investors' expectations in a couple of different places. It talks about the risk. I mean, for instance, they had this field, DDD, which failed, and they mentioned there that actually investors were unhappy about that, but it needs to be seen just as a risk. And then in the business challenges section, it actually says that one of the key business challenges is we're just going to find that some fields don't produce oil. So in managing investors' expectations is going to be critical in either this increase or reduce. Obviously, they're going to be kind of happy if we found more oil. My guess, if I was writing an issue, I'd probably write about finding less oil because there's more of an issue to write about then. And there's more, particularly if it was There's more to talk about in terms of managing investors' expectations. How do we go and investigate more fields or take out more licenses? There's a lot you can write about if you find less. If there's good information, so if there was good information about a particular oil field, that would then link into a farming out opportunity potentially, or whether we take out the production license. That's where that one might go. But, probably if I was writing it, I'd go for the bad information. That would be my guess of where the examiner's going. Okay, make sure you put the investors into Mendelow's matrix. If it's to do with licenses, you'll need the governments in there as well. And this will be a new strength or weakness in the SWOT analysis potentially. You should definitely have in as a strength the existing oil fields and good operations, for instance. Okay, that's my issue 10. Issue 9, political uncertainty in countries of production. Now again, why have I got this in here? Well, look, politics is intrinsically related to the oil and gas industry. Governments support the industry, they get political power off of the industry, gets pressure on their neighbouring countries and so on over this. So politics has a big impact, there's no getting away from that. And in the early pages of the Preseen, there's a hint at it there. And there's the talk of the terrorist activities as well, and the fact they've had to put risk management in place against that, which suggests some political uncertainty already, which, again, why is the examiner telling us that? Perhaps it's because that's going to get worse, and there's uncertainty. So perhaps there's more political unrest, or some kind of change in the government, changing government policy, that could actually ended up being linked to... Oh, my line's not very straight there, is it? I don't know what's going on there. These are supposed to straighten out straight properly like that one did. But it could easily, of course, link through to oil reserves, government change in policy. Perhaps they take over the license or take a license back because they can. And then, our reserves go down. Okay, so it could be linked to that anyway. So key points to raise then, look, government relations are absolutely critical in the 3 countries that we're operating in. Maintain those good relationships, ensure that we're meeting those needs. They would be on Mendelow's matrix in the keep satisfied box for the government, okay? And of course in models, then the political and pest is going to be key to include on this as well, okay? So, I think that is quite possible. I think it's probably unlikely it's going to be a huge issue, as in that they simply take back our oil field or something like that. But one thing, I think if I was writing this issue, what I would do is talk about there being some uncertainty, and then include the option to farm that out as a risk management approach. So, okay, look, let's just sell this off. We've got the oil reserves. We'll pass on the risk of the uncertainty to another company, take the money and run, basically. So obviously you'll get a bit less for it if there's uncertainty, but it's that, do you want all that money now, or do you want to take the risk and just get the money over the 7 years of production? So that's what I would include in there on that one. And if you're watching the sample of this video, then that's basically where this video ends. The remainder of this video, which is video 9 in the series of our strategic videos, goes on and explains my issues 8 through to 1. Obviously, you can go on and buy the full video set. Video 1 is available for free. You can find that one on YouTube and on our website. Videos 2 through to 8 go through all the remaining sections of the Preseen, me giving you my views and ideas about the Preseen, talking about issues. Video 8 is my strategic analysis. I talk you through my strategic analysis of the case. So hopefully you'll find those ones of useful. Even if you don't buy the videos, I hope you found the first video and this introduction here useful. What I would say, just to finish off this, is what you can do now, of course, is you can go through the Preseen yourself and look for what you think are the most likely issues that are going to come up in the exam, and then think what models you would use, think what diversity or industry examples that you would give to support that, because you do need to do that in the exam. So basically you can go through finishing off. Or of course you can buy the videos and you can see my view as well. Okay, so whichever way you're going with that, I do wish you the best of luck in your continued studies and particularly in the exam.